Hey guys, today what I'm going to be doing is going over just some basic watercolor prep skills and also the color mixing chart. Oh, sorry, it's a little blurry. There we go. That I put in your folder with the watercolor supplies. So actually, let me turn off that blur because I realize that it is making it so you can't see things. We don't want that. So you guys should have a set of watercolors. Some of you got a prank set that looks like this. Some of you got a Crayola one. It doesn't really matter as long as you have the colors. And this one, you know, this is nice and shiny and brand new, but some of them are used. It doesn't matter. Now, if you notice that, like, let's say the yellow has some orange in it, one thing you can do is take a paper towel that's damp and just kind of wipe off the excess color that doesn't belong there so it isn't contaminated. But this is what your basic watercolor set will look like. And then you should have at least a brush or two there to help you. And then this is the color mixing chart. That was a little blurry before. And I also have underneath me, I have some newspaper. If you don't have newspaper, you might want to put down just like a scrap sheet of paper or something like that, because watercolor can get not messy, but if you drip a little bit, especially if you're at home and you don't want to get your table dirty or have your parents get mad at you, it helps to have the newspaper. Also, paper towels. Okay, of course, these are the school ones that aren't very absorbent, and at home you have much better ones. And then a cup of water. So this, I like to use these at school. They're like the kinds you get like Chinese takeout in, the soup. But any kind of glass or jar works for that. Just make sure that you wash it when you're done with it. And that is going to be used, one, because it's watercolor, and two, because you will need to use it to change colors. So if you look at this chart, the way that it's labeled, we have a color, okay? And this is pointing at red. So it goes through each of the colors on the top and the bottom. This one diagonal that goes through the center, that is where you will put the true color. Like straight red is going to go there. And then this would be straight orange. And this would be straight yellow, and so on. Then you have the areas where the colors cross. So that is where you're going to see how the different colors affect one another. So I'm going to dip my brush in the water, and you don't want to have your brush too wet at first. You can always add more water, but taking it away can get harder. So I like to take my brush and don't shake it everywhere because that will make a mess. But if you take your cup and kind of go like this along the side to get any excess water off, that works well. And then your paint kind of needs to be activated. So I'm just taking my brush and swirling it a little bit in the red. And the less water you add, the more intense the color is going to be. So I'm going to paint that red oval in first. If you add more water, it will be more watered down. But the less you have, the more intense it's going to be. So I'm trying to make it like pretty intense since this is my red oval and I want it to really appear as a true red. Now, do you have to be perfectly in the lines? Does this have to be a perfect oval? Absolutely not. Okay. Now, it's obviously wet, so I'm going to pick it up quickly just so you can see, because I don't want it to drip. You don't want it to drip, but there we go. We have red. So now I am going to, for the next one, I'm going to take red and I'm going to mix it with orange. So the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to take a little bit of red and put it down in the one next to it. And rinse my brush, wipe it off, and then I'm going to activate my orange, and I'm going to put it right with the paint that I had already put down, the red paint. And what you're going to get here is a red-orange, because that's what happens when you put red and orange together. You get red-orange, which is a tertiary color. Now you'll notice one thing about this paper, it's thicker. It's watercolor paper. It's meant to hold up to the water. So as you can see, my red-orange, it's a little red, it's a little orange. It's not pure either of those. Now I'm going to see what happens if I mix red, which I'll put down first. What happens if I mix it with yellow? Again, you always want to clean it off between colors so that you don't, as I said before, contaminate one of your colors. So now I'm going to mix that. I'm mixing it right in the oval. So I'm mixing the red and yellow together, and what I'm ending up with is an orange, because red and yellow makes orange, and that is a secondary color. So see, there's my red-orange. Now this is where things get a little interesting with color theory. The next one is red and green. I don't know, some of you probably the first thing you think of is Christmas, but they are complementary colors. And you might remember from when we were doing our colored pencil project, complementary colors are colors that are across from one another on the color wheel. So we will get an interesting effect when we mix red, rinsing my brush, with green. I'm going to get kind of a strange color. And it really depends on how much green you put in to how much red, like what the ratio is. But sometimes it darkens the color, it dulls it down. You get kind of a grayish tone. Again, like I said, it depends on how much you put in. So that is my red mixed with green. And now I'm going to do red and blue. So again, you're going to be rinsing your brush off a lot in your water cup. So you might get to a point where it's dirty, right? So my suggestion is to clean, or like dump out your water in the sink, rinse the cup, and get fresh water pretty often so that you don't end up having your water affect the colors themselves, because that can happen. You'll get like muddy water and then you mix it with your colors and it doesn't look so great. So when I mix red and blue, you guys might already know this from general color theory, but when I mix red and blue, I get violet or purple. So that's what that looks like. And I am going to now mix red and violet, which makes red-violet. So it'll be kind of like the one that we got next to it. We got a violet that we mixed together, but this one's going to be lean more red, more of like a magenta fuchsia type color. And you might be thinking, like, why does it matter? Like, why do I have to do this and see all the colors? Well, one, it's just interesting, honestly, to see how each of the colors affect one another. And two, when we do our actual little watercolor project, you can refer to this. So when you're putting colors next to one another or mixing them together, you can decide which ones you like and which ones you don't like and know to avoid those ones. So there's my red violet, which hard to see on the screen, but it looks more pink in real life. Okay, so next is red and brown, which is not like a named color. We can name it. We can name it terracotta, maybe. That's like a type of clay. Some of you might have terracotta pots for your plants. And again, I'm just always rinsing off my brush so I keep my paints nice and non-contaminated. Okay, so I'm mixing my brown now with the red. And like I said, there's no specific name for this. Like red brown, it's not like red orange. So we can call it terracotta, we can call it burnt sienna, whatever you feel like. Mine's a little wet, so I'm just gonna kind of move it around a bit so it doesn't drip all the way. But there you go, that's my red brown. And then lastly, I am going to do red and black. Now, the thing with black is it is obviously dark and overpowering. So we don't want to put a ton of black in there because it will just completely overpower the red and then it'll just look black. It won't even look like there's any red at all. So I'm just going to put a little bit in there so that we can still see a little bit of red. And you'll see it'll look different with each color that we mix it with. Like, it's funny when you mix black with yellow, you'll get like almost a greenish color. So this is my black and red. So this is the first row. And what you're going to do is go through each of the rows and columns. So the next one is orange. So what I would do is I'm going to put orange in this one here. So we remember this diagonal is where the true color goes, straight from the set, not mixed with anything. So I'd put orange there. So this would be orange. I would put orange down first, and then I'd put red in it. And then here I would put orange down first, and then I'd put yellow. Okay, so we're following the same pattern for each of the rows and columns. This one, remember, orange, and then I'd mix it with green. Orange, I'd mix it with blue. If you guys remember, those are also complementary colors. And then orange and violet, orange and brown, orange and black. So you're going to go through this entire thing, and this may take more than one block. Likely it'll take you 2 or 3. But it's an interesting exercise. And also, like I said, it'll be a reference for you when we do our little watercolor project. So hopefully you guys understand and that helped you with, how to do this color mixing chart. And it's fun. I enjoy color theory because it's so interesting to think all of these are based on red, but we get such a different outcome from each color that it has been mixed with. And I am probably going to complete mine so I can see how it looks all together. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of yours. Sorry, guys. I forgot I have to stop recording instead of end the call like I usually do.